Hey guys, Yolanda here for Safe Snuffles 101. If this is your first time tuning in, don't worry, there's only one other episode before this, but go ahead and watch it so you can see what my mission is in promoting humane education. In light of some recent events in my life, I decided to create an episode today on dog bite prevention. Just yesterday, I was actually grazed by a dog. You can't really see it, but I'm going to show it. And I wanted to do an episode about preventing that and what I did wrong in that scenario. So while I was out and about yesterday, I did see a stray dog running across the street. It had a collar on, so I knew it was most likely somebody's pet, and I wanted to do something to help. I always do when I see a stray dog, especially one that I know probably belongs to somebody. Now, in a situation like that, I really want to start this out with how important it is if you see a stray dog or any sort of wild animal out that you don't think belongs there to call animal control, or if there is no local animal control, call the local authorities, which I did do after the situation was over. But the first thing I did was try with a couple of neighbors to help this dog because it looked like it was going to run into a busy street. There was one nearby and I was really fearful for the dog. We were unable to catch the dog. It did run off, but I am hopeful that the authorities came to the site and were able to find the dog and track down its owners. And while this is just a superficial scratch, you never can be too safe. So in the event that something like this does happen to you, please make sure you do seek medical attention. I just went to the local clinic afterwards just to make sure there was nothing else that they needed to do besides wash it with soap and water, which is what I had already done. So please, if this does happen, first thing you should do, wash your hand or whatever it is with warm soap and water and then go see a doctor. Now, dogs typically bite when they're really excitable or they're aggressive. And a lot of times, there's really one of two reasons why a dog is becoming aggressive. They're either fearful or they're being protective of something. It's important to understand what fear is. We all know what fear is when we're afraid. We know how we experience that emotion, and dogs can feel that same kind of emotion. And just because a dog appears submissive doesn't mean that it's fearful, or vice versa. If a dog is fearful, doesn't mean it's going to become submissive, which means it's going to back down and give you the authority because it's submitting to you. A fearful dog is an unpredictable dog. There's no way to tell how a dog will act when it is afraid. The other reason is protectiveness. A dog will act protective over things that it finds valuable. So that could be food, toys, its home, a person, and if a dog is allowed to roam free, their territory expands. And so we may see a dog acting aggressively and strangely, but it's protecting its territory. So if a dog is always seen walking around the block, and then somebody new comes in, or somebody that the dog doesn't recognize comes in, it may act territorial because you're invading its space, which is that block. So now I'm going to talk about some things that may help prevent aggressive behavior. It's very important to understand these things if you encounter a dog that is acting aggressively. The first thing to remember is not to run away from an aggressive dog. I know that doesn't sound very reasonable. You might want to get away from the danger, but the dog's instinct is to chase, and you might trigger this instinct if you run away from it. It might then choose to chase you. So the best thing to do is to remain calm. I know it's easier said than done when you're in a situation like that, but try to remain as calm as possible and to remain as still as possible. Turn your body into like a tree. So stand as straight as you can, cross your arms, and then look down. You never want to look a dog in the eye because that could be a symbol of aggression. So just look away from the dog, and chances are the dog is going to lose interest in you and move on to something else. And I have personal experience in that too. When I was younger, I used to walk to school every day with a couple of my friends. And I remember once talking to my brother randomly about dogs and him saying, well, if you ever see a dog, don't run from it. It's going to know that you're scared. It's going to run after you. Well, they didn't listen. They took off, and the dog literally had to run past me to go after them. You would think, oh, I'm the first target. I'm the first one that's going to reach. But I was causing no interest for the dog. He ran right past me and chased after one of my friends. Luckily, no one was injured and someone came along that knew the dog and was able to take it away. But I learned a vital thing that day. Yes, I was scared and I knew my heart was pitter-pattering in my 10-year-old body, but I remained calm, I remained where I was, and I didn't give in to my fear, and the dog did not come after me. So you never want to do anything that's going to alert the dog and make you think that you are a threat. So you never want to be like, oh, puppy, 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 because that's either going to excite them or it's going to make them scared. And that's not what you want to do. You always want to take things slow and approach with caution, especially if you don't know the dog. Even if it's a friend's dog, you always want to make sure that it's safe to approach the dog. So now I'm going to present to you 2 different scenarios and something that I would want you guys to think about on your own time. So if you're watching this with a group of kids or with your own child or what have you, you can take time to discuss this based off of what you've already seen me talk about. So the first scenario is you and a friend get off the school bus, and when you're walking home from school, you see a dog come around the corner and it starts growling at you and barking at you and showing its teeth. What do you do? The second scenario is you go to a friend's house who just recently adopted a new dog. The new dog is a bit slow to warm up and you want to go and pet the dog. What should you do about the situation, and how should you approach the dog to be friends with? So as I've said before, never run away from a dog, but it's also important to never run towards a dog. So in the second scenario, the dog may be a little scared, and if you're running towards it, you may appear as a threat. As I've said before, you want to move slowly. Let the dog come to you on your own terms. Since this is a family dog, anytime you encounter a dog with an adult, always make sure you ask the adult if it's okay to pet the dog or to see the dog. They'll know their dog better than anybody and say, you know what, he's still adjusting to his new home. Maybe next time you come over you can. Or sure, he really likes it if you play with his rope. Maybe you can bring him his rope toy. So when approaching, if you have to, any fearful dog or any new dog, you want to make yourself as less threatening as possible. So crouch down so you're a lot smaller and less threatening than you appear. So crouch down, never look a dog in the eye, and if you're looking to pet this new dog, your new friend's dog, just hold out your hand and let him come sniff you. Never try to pet the dog. If you're coming over ahead of the dog, it's a little intimidating. So you don't want to do that. Let the dog come to you. Let the dog come to you and sniff your hand, and then it will decide if it wants to stay by you or move on. So a couple things I also want to add are thinking about dogs that may be more likely to bite. And those dogs are the ones that are caged or chained up all the time, the dogs who are allowed to roam freely and have a larger territory, dogs that are eating or sleeping. A lot of times they're going to be startled if you wake them up, and they value the resource of food, so don't bug them while they're eating. Dogs who've recently had puppies and are still nursing their puppies, and dogs who are injured or in pain. You don't want someone to come up to you if you have a stomach ache or if your arm hurts and saying, oh, your arm. You wouldn't want that either, so neither does a dog. So now the last thing I'm going to talk about is in the unlikely event that a dog does knock you over and is acting aggressively. Now this is going to be the hardest part of not trying to fight back, kicking and screaming and getting up and running away from the dog. The dog has overpowered you and knocked you over, so now you need to do your absolute best to remain calm. So now that you're knocked on the ground, what you should do is roll into a ball. So pull your legs up close to your tummy, you roll into a tight little ball. Keep your face down and take your hands and cover the back of your neck so you're all tightly rolled up. If you have a backpack, leave it on because it does offer some protection over part of your body. Now remain quiet and in that position until the dog loses interest. With nothing to be able to grab onto, it will most likely lose interest after a couple minutes and wander off. Wait for the dog to leave and make sure you know that it's gone and it's safe to get up. Then go tell an adult about what happened so they can contact the proper authorities to hopefully locate the dog. So the point of this video wasn't to make you afraid of dogs. That's not what I want. I don't want to make people scared of dogs. I want people to respect and understand dogs. So this will give you a little insight on how to avoid potentially dangerous situations with dogs that you don't know. So again, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them in the comment section. If you like the video, like it, share it, and please subscribe so you can get more episodes of Safe Snuffles 101. Thank you for watching and be safe.